Hillsborough County has launched its redesigned website, hcfl.gov. The new domain boasts a variety of improvements to searchability, page layout, navigation, and website speed. The revamped website features robust search functions, making it easier for users to find the information they need, whether searching for essential government services, paying water bills, accessing event information, learning how to acquire a new trash can, or identifying evacuation zones. The enhanced search functionality ensures quick access to relevant content. HCFL.gov's new design features a clean, modern, and intuitive layout. The streamlined design enhances user-friendliness for easy navigation and access to important resources. Navigating the website is now more straightforward than ever. Users can seamlessly move between different sections, departments, and services while interacting with information and resources. Ready to see what all the fuss is about? Head to hcfl.gov and discover your best source for all things Hillsborough County.
Good morning. Could you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. Good morning, everyone. I want to welcome you to the February 26, 2024 Land Use Hearing Officer hearing. My name is Susan Finch, and I'll be presiding as the hearing officer over today's cases. Let me start by introducing Ms. Colleen Marshall. She's with the Development Services Department. She's at the end of the dais, and she'll introduce other staff members as well as go over today's changes to the agenda. Ms. Marshall.
Good morning, Colleen Marshall, Development Services. To my right is Carmen Mason of Development Services staff. To my left, Mary Dorman of the Hillsborough County County Attorney's Office, and Jillian Massey of Planning Commission staff. During the course of the hearing, a number of other staff planners will be presenting their findings for various cases and will be introduced for each item. We have a few continuances and withdrawals today. Item A1, variance 230965. The applicant is HB Alliance LLC. This application has been withdrawn by the applicant. Item A2, special use 230966. Applicant is Than Lock LLC, doing business as Thin on French Bakery. And this application is continued by staff to the March 25th, 2024 Land Use Hearing Officer hearing. This concludes the continuances and withdrawals.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Let me start by going over our hearing procedures for today's hearing. Our hearing today consists of agenda items that require a public hearing by a land use hearing officer. I'll conduct a hearing on each agenda item and will file a decision within 15 business days following today's hearing. Our hearing today is informal. I'll ask questions related to the scope of direct testimony. I may call and question witnesses as I deem appropriate, and I'll decide all questions of procedure. Evidence may be presented in written form, and all testimony must be under oath. Hearsay evidence may be used to supplement or explain other evidence, but shall not be sufficient alone to support a finding by me unless it would be admissible over objections in a civil action. Our order of presentation today is as follows. We have two types of agenda items today. We have variances, that's what starts the agenda, and then concludes with special use applications. The order of presentations for both is the same with the exception of who starts. So in variances, the applicant goes first. Ms. Marshall will always make a presentation, a brief presentation for each agenda item introducing it, but with variances, the applicant will go first and has 15 minutes to make their presentation. In special use cases, the staff development services planner goes first and presents the staff findings for 5 minutes. But other than that, that's the difference. So for variances, the applicant goes first for 15, and then we will turn to proponents. Anyone who would like to speak in favor of an item, everybody total 15 minutes. The same is true next when we go to opponents. Anyone who would like to speak against an application, also 15 minutes. We'll then go back to development services to ask if they have any comments or amendments based on today's testimony. And then finally, we conclude with the applicant. The applicant has the last word for rebuttal with 5 minutes. We have one special use application today that pertains to a school, and the Planning Commission makes a finding of consistency with the Planning Commission staff, and that will go after development services, but that's the one case that they will participate on today. So regarding the time for opponents and proponents, I don't think we have this issue today, but just in case, I will call, when we get to that section of the hearing, I will call for anyone who wants to speak in favor or against with a show of hands. We have people in the room, and we also have people participating online today. So get a total count for those that want to speak in favor or against, and divide that 15 minutes as equally as we can. If you are going to speak today, either in the room or online, always start by giving me your name and address for the record. We are recording this hearing, and we want to make sure we get your information as accurate as possible. If you are in the room, when you're done speaking at the podium, if you could see Jennifer, she's at the end of the dais. She's with the clerk's office. She is keeping a log. So when you're done speaking in the room, if you could see her and sign in with your name, address, and the application number that you spoke about. Let me now turn to Ms. Dorman. She's with the County Attorney's Office, and she will provide you the legal requirements for appealing a decision made by a land use hearing officer. Ms. Dorman.
Good morning. Mary Dorman from the County Attorney's Office. This land use hearing officer public hearing is for variance and special use requests. This is the time for interested parties to present evidence and testimony. Once the hearing officer has closed a case, the record of that case is also closed, and no new evidence regarding that case may be submitted thereafter. Any decision by the hearing officer may be appealed to the Land Use Appeals Board. Should decision of the hearing officer be appealed, the evidence and testimony presented at this public hearing shall be part of the evidence that is submitted to review by the Appeals Board. In reaching a final decision on petitions, the Appeals Board will only consider the decision of the hearing officer and the record made at this public hearing. If an appeal is filed, the Appeals Board hearing shall consist of oral argument by the party appealing the decision, county staff, and any interveners, each of whom may be represented by legal counsel. The following shall have standing to appeal a decision of the hearing officer or to intervene in an appeal. 1, the applicant, or 2, anyone who appeared before the hearing officer, presented testimony or other evidence, and is adversely affected by the decision of the hearing officer. It is the role of the County Attorney's Office to ensure that no new evidence or testimony is allowed before the Appeals Board that was not presented to the hearing officer at today's hearing. The County Attorney will recommend that the Appeals Board disregard evidence or testimony that is outside the record made at today's public hearing. Any evidence presented to the Appeals Board that is outside the record created at today's hearing could jeopardize the legality of the Appeals Board decision, and the presenter of that evidence could hurt their own cause. The safest course of action, then, is for you to write down any comments you make today and repeat them to the Appeals Board.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. As I mentioned, all testimony must be under oath. So if you plan to speak today, if you could please stand, raise your right hand, and I'll swear you in. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to provide is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you so much. Please be seated. All right, Ms. Marshall, that brings us to the first case.
Today's agenda, we have no vested rights or fee waivers, remands, or reconsideration requests, which brings us to Section F, Site Development Variance Request. Item F1, Variance 240181. The applicant is Lauren and Paul Randall. The request is a variance to encroach into the wetland setback. Staff findings will be provided by Wayne Doyen.
All right, is the applicant here? Good morning.
Stefan with Shoemaker, Loop, and Kendrick on behalf of the property owners Lauren and Paul Randall. The subject property is located at 15605 Hampton Village Drive in Tampa. This is a single-family home and is the Randall's homestead property. The property is located in a platted subdivision. The name of the plat is the Reserve at Hampton Lakes. This is Lot 16. It's a 0.23 acre property. The zoning is PD and the future land use category is R4. The property abuts a wetland conservation area to its west, and the applicant is seeking a variance to encroach into the 30-foot wetland setback. The size of the encroachment is 9.6 feet, and the reason for the encroachment is to allow for the construction of a caged backyard swimming pool. The cage does not have a roof to it. The total area impacted is 417 square feet. That's the area that lies within the wetland setback. And the site plan that has been submitted illustrates the location of the proposed pool. I also included as part of the application package an aerial photograph that depicts the subject property as well as the location and existence of pools of all the adjacent property owners who also abut the wetland area. And as this aerial photograph shows, the vast majority, if not all, of the buildings surrounding the subject property also have been improved with a pool. And for that reason, the Randalls asked to be treated equally and also be allowed to put a pool in their backyard, and happy to answer any questions you may have.
Just a couple. First, thank you for that graphic. If we could put that aerial back up just for a second. I do know the surrounding area, all those homes all have pools. Do you know if any of them received a variance for those pools?
I believe, can I point them out on the map?
Yeah, absolutely. Just pull that microphone over towards you.
Okay.
There you go.
This property, this one, the one directly to the south, and these two have variances that were approved as well.
So certainly the adjacent parcels.
Correct.
Okay. I was reading your variance response criteria, and number 2, which asks about how the literal requirements of the Land Development Code would deprive the rights commonly enjoyed by others, refers to lots along Scott Road having a shorter dimension. I just want to make sure. Is that a typo?
That is a hot typo. It should be Hampton Village Drive, and the request.
Just want to make sure I was in the right place. And then finally, you did mention that wetland is off-site.
Correct. It is off-site.
Okay. All right. That was my only question. Thank you so much. If you could please sign in with the clerk's office.
Sure.
Development Services. Good morning.
Morning. Wayne Doyen, Hillsborough County Natural Resources. This is variance application 24-0181. Request summary. The applicant is requesting a variance from the 30-foot wetland conservation area setback requirement, section 4.01.07.b.4 of the Land Development Code. The applicant's specific request, as shown on the site plan submitted on 1/2/2024, is to allow construction of a pool/spa, decking, and screen enclosure within the 30-foot wetland conservation area setback. LDC section 4.01.07.b.4, LDC requirement, no filling, excavating, or placement of permanent structures or other impervious surfaces shall be allowed within required 30-foot wetland conservation area setback. The variance request is 9 foot 6 inches of encroachment for the construction of a pool, decking, and screen enclosure Result, 20-foot, 6-inch setback remaining. Findings, none.
All right, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Is there anyone here that would like to speak in support? Anyone in favor? Seeing no one, anyone in opposition to this request? No one. Ms. Marshall, anything further?
Nothing further.
All right, sir, you have the last word if you'd like it.
Thank you. I don't have anything else to add to the
All
record.
right, thank you for that. I appreciate it. Then with that, we'll close variance 24-0181 and go to the next case.
Next item is item F2, variance 240277. The applicant is David Mechanic. The request is a variance to encroach into the wetland setback. Staff findings will be provided by Wayne Doyen.
Good morning.
Good morning, Ms. Finch. David Mechanic, 305 South Boulevard, Tampa, Florida. Here on behalf of the applicant, just like to say for the record, I am an attorney and a certified planner. What we are proposing, this is property at 8403 and 8405 North Lois Avenue. Property is currently developed from, I believe, the 50s as triplex at duplexes. The property is RMC 16 zoning. We have a companion PD zoning application to allow for a 38-room hotel. And based on the recommendation of the staff, we had to come here first to seek approval for the variance for wetland encroachment before we can go forward with the PD zoning application. And I would just like to say that we went to extraordinary lengths to avoid any variances, and because of the presence of a large water body on and adjacent to the site, we were unable to avoid this particular variance. I would just like, as a matter of housekeeping, to introduce a memo from EPC, which essentially indicates that they do not object to the encroachment into the wetland. And the encroachment, I should have mentioned, is a 15-foot encroachment of a pool, the pool deck, and the security fence around the pool, as well as a small portion of the driveway. At this time, I'd like to show you a diagram of the site. Maybe I can, yeah, I guess that's a little bit better. What you're seeing, I'm not sure this is all going to be very clear, but the property, the areas designated in red are existing impervious surfaces. The area in blue is what we are proposing to wind up with as impervious surface. And the purpose of this exhibit is to show you that we are actually reducing impervious surface in the wetland setback area by 374 feet. So we'll actually be reducing whatever impact there might be to the wetland. And I would like to just point out that we don't see that there are impacts to the wetland. There is no significant vegetation along the water body. And you can see in various photographs, property on the right would be where the pool would be. Here's another example where the brown shaded area would be where the driveway would be located. And here is another example.
Sir, can you bring the mic with you whenever you show the pictures?
Oh, sorry, yes, okay. Where the X is where the edge of the pool would be. And finally, this photograph shows what appears to be a man-made water body. And again, there's no significant vegetation that we will be affecting by the proposed construction. And I would just like to point out in terms of the necessity for the variance that the site, the water body sort of envelops a site, so there's not a lot of land area to work with. And so we think we've done as best we can to avoid any impacts. And again, the encroachment is minimal to the wetland setback area. There is no impact to the wetland itself. And with that, we would conclude our presentation.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. All right, Development Services. By the way, Ms. Marshall, I think I've reversed the order, correct? So we'll fix that in the next time. It's the morning. Good morning.
Morning. Wayne Doyle, Hillsborough County Natural Resources. Variance application 24-0277. Request summary. Applicant is requesting a variance for the 30-foot wetland conservation area setback requirement, section 4.01.07.b.4 of the Land Development Code. The applicant's specific request, as shown on the site plan submitted on 1/18/2024, is to allow for the construction of a portion of the pool, decking, security fence, and asphalt driveway within the 30-foot wetland conservation area setback. LDC section 4.01.07.b.4, LDC requirement, no filling, excavating, or placement of permanent structures or other impervious surfaces should be allowed within the required 30-foot wetland conservation area setback. Variance 15-foot encroachment for construction of a portion of pool, decking, security fence, and asphalt driveway. Result 15-foot remaining setback. Findings, a wetland setback compensation planning plan for 1,505 square feet will be provided on the construction plans reviewed through the site construction intake process.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Is there anyone that would like to speak in support? Anyone in favor? Seeing no one, anyone in opposition? No one. Ms. Marshall?
Nothing further.
All right. Mr. Mechanic, anything else?
David Mechanic, we have nothing further. I would just point out, for the record, we do agree with the conditions of approval. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much. All right. With that, we'll close variance 24-0277 and go to the next case.
Next item is item F3, variance 24-0285. The applicant is Kanuro Satish Kumar and Pandaya Sanjusha Krishna. The request is a variance to encroach into the wetland setback. Staff findings will be provided by Wayne Doyen.
All right. Good morning.
Good morning. Wayne Doyen, Hillsborough County Natural Resources. Variance application 24-0285. Request summary. The applicant is requesting a variance from the 30-foot wetland conservation area setback requirement, section 4.01.07.b.4 of the Land Development Code. The applicant's specific request, as shown on the site plan submitted on 1/2/2024, is to allow for the construction of a covered porch with a photo within the 30-foot wetland conservation area setback. LDC section 4.01.07.b.4, LDC requirement, no filling, excavating, or placement of permanent structures or other impervious surfaces shall be allowed within the required 30-foot wetland conservation area setback. Variance 13-foot encroachment for the construction of a covered porch with a footer. Result 17-foot remaining setback. Findings none.
Thank you so much. Is the applicant here? Good morning.
Good morning. For the record, my name is Patricia Ortiz. My address is 2810 North Central Avenue, Tampa, 33602. Let me show you a couple pictures here. Okay, the subject property is located north of Memorial Highway and west of Countryway Boulevard within the Greater Town and Country Community Planning Area. It's within a plan development PD 15-1140. The community is called Haven Estates. This property is designated residential 4 on the future land use map, and the subject property is about 6,000 square feet in size. The request is to reduce the required 30-foot wetland setback buffer to 17 feet to allow for the construction of an enclosed porch. The total estimated area of encroachment is 210 square feet, which is less than the 500 square feet that requires a compensation planting plan. The impetus of this request is rather unique. As you can see, there is quite a, the subject property is right here, and it's surrounded by quite a large area of wetland. Snakes and other woodland creatures are crossing from the wetland onto the subject property, and they're creating a situation where the homeowners are, they don't feel secure to let their children play in the backyard or even recreate themselves in the backyard. I do have one picture of a snake. I don't know if you'd like to see that. They're kind of fast moving, so we've had a hard time getting pictures of them. But so that's the impetus of the request. The majority of the wetland area that abuts the site is controlled by the Country Way Homeowners Association, and that's the planned development that is to the north. But there is a small amount of wetland on the subject property. Okay, so right about here, we have a little area of wetland, and then the larger area is wetland setback. So the property owner is proposing what I think is a really reasonable solution, which is to construct a screened, an enclosed porch, which would be partially solid roof and partially screened roof, to provide that sort of outdoor area in a safe way. And as proposed, the enclosed porch will be attached to the back side of the home. The covered roof area will be the first 10 feet in line with the house, and the remaining 13 feet of depth will be a screen porch. So that area of covered patio that is over the wetland setback area will be pervious or screen material. I think this request is appropriate because, in my opinion, recreation areas are most appropriate in the backyard, where they're most distant from the adjacent homes. It maximizes privacy. And within this neighborhood, screen porches, there are no screen porches in the front. That's partially due to the minimal 20-foot front yard setback, and partially due to the location of an easement, which extends 10 feet into the required front yard. Also, I just don't think that that was the aesthetic planned for this neighborhood, to have the screen porch in the front. Also, the side yard setbacks are 5 feet. I think the house is separated. The side yard setbacks in this case are a little bit bigger, but they provide no opportunity for recreation or screened-in porch area. The subject site is disproportionately burdened with wetland and wetland setback lots. There are 4 lots, 22, 23, and 24, which have portions of wetland or wetland setback on them. The subject site, however, has a disproportionate amount of, well, I wouldn't say that, excuse me. They have significant area of wetland and wetland setback, which significantly reduces the buildable area in the backyard. Let me see, what else do I have? I can show you maybe a graphic that would show you the results of approval. The 2 properties abutting the subject site have screened enclosures. I think they're both swimming pools. This is under construction. I do not believe a variance was required for this property or this one. So here I would say the literal interpretation of the Land Development Code would deprive the homeowner of the commonly enjoyed rights of a private outdoor recreation area or the use of their backyard. The variance proposed is reasonable and is the most minimal variance necessary to allow the screen porch. This hardship is not self-created. The construction of the porch demonstrates a significant financial expenditure, which will benefit the homeowner and also nearby and adjacent properties. It's reasonable, provides the child a safe play area. The nearest park is about 1.5 miles away, and just too far for the child to go on his own. Furthermore, the front yard is really small and not appropriate for a play area. With that, I will answer whatever questions you might have.
Only to confirm that the encroachment is only into the setback and not the wetland itself.
Yes, absolutely, only into the setback.
All right, thank you. That was it. If you could
Thank
please
you.
sign in.
Yes.
All right. We'll ask for anyone that would like to speak in support. Anyone in favor? Seeing no one, anyone opposed to this request? No one. Ms. Marshall?
Nothing further,
All
thank
right.
you.
Ms. Ortiz, anything else? All right, thank you. Then with that, we'll close variance 24-0285 and go to the next request.
This brings us to section G, sign variance request. Item G1, variance 240190. The applicant is Todd Pressman. The request is a variance to sign requirements. Staff findings will be provided by Sam Ball.
All right, Development Services. Good morning.
Good morning, Sam Ball with Development Services. The applicant is requesting 3 variances to allow for the construction of 3 ground signs at a mixed-use development located at the southeast corner of North US 41 and Brander Mill Road. One of the variances is for additional sign height, and 2 of the variances are for additional sign area. According to LDC section 7030C1A, maximum sign height, no ground sign shall exceed 15 feet if located adjacent to a collector or local street. The applicant is requesting a 5-foot increase to this requirement to allow for a 20-foot tall pole sign facing Brander Mill Road. LDC section 7030C2B1 for maximum sign area. The maximum sign area allowable, the maximum allowable aggregate sign area for each ground sign shall not exceed 1 square foot for each lineal foot of street frontage on the street where the sign is located, or 100 square feet, whichever is less, and no sign face shall exceed 50 square feet in aggregate sign area. The 2 sign variances the applicant is requesting are a 74 square foot increase to allow a monument sign of 174 square feet, where the maximum allowed is 100 square feet for the proposed ground sign facing Brander Mill Road, and an additional 124 square feet to allow for a 224 square foot sign, where 100 square feet is the maximum on the proposed ground sign facing North US Highway 41. Within the plan development conditions of approval, Approval 7 requires that prior to or concurrent with the initial increment of development, the property owner shall dedicate and convey to Hillsborough County up to 29 feet of right-of-way along the project's northern boundary, or as otherwise sufficient to accommodate the required access improvements described within Condition 8 and the future 4-laning of Lacey Road in accordance with the Hillsborough County Corridor Preservation Plan. The portion of Lacey Road that is cited in Condition Approval 7 is shown as Brander Mill Road on the site plan provided by the applicant, which will result in public right-of-way frontage adjoining the north boundary of the site prior to or concurrent with development. That concludes my report. If you have any questions?
I have some questions, but I think I'll wait and direct them to the applicant. So thank you very much. I appreciate it. The applicant here, please. Good morning.
Good morning, Hearing Officer Todd Pressman, 200 2nd Avenue South, number 451 in St. Petersburg. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I'm here this morning with Mr. John Schwartz. John's here in the front. He's Vice President of Redstone Properties, and Maya Taylor, Development Manager, also with Redstone, and Mr. William Halton with Next Metro is here. I do have a PowerPoint for you, which is up, and this is variance 24-0190, seeking 3 separate sign variances. We're located in the Apollo Beach area, as shown on the mappings, north of 674 on 41. This is a little closer on 41. This is the project site. The property appraiser has it 2 separate folios. Brander Mill runs on the north. It's called Lacey Road on one side and Brander Mill on the other on US 41. This is an aerial currently of the site from property appraiser, again on US 41 and Brander Mill across the north. So here is the site plan of the development proposed. And it is composed of 2 major parts: residential that wraps all the way around, and then out parcels and large retail store in the rear. The current zoning approval under MM 22-1228, this is 71.1 acres of 230,000 square feet of CI uses, 303 multifamily, future land use categories OC 20 and SMU 6. To look at the whole sign package, which I want to run through real quick with you so you have arms around everything. All the measurements that I'm showing are per face, not aggregate, so that we're all on the same page. And additionally, all the signs are very architecturally cohesive with the development. So I'm going to lay these out on the site plan, but just very quickly so you have them now and in the future as you're looking this over. This is the sign package of the development. And again, we're only asking for 3 sign variances, but I wanted to include this as part of the package. So this is the sign package as proposed. I place them in different parts of the site plan so you can get a grasp of what's being requested or what is being proposed on the entire package. And then in honor of Kim King, who has beat me down for years, is the letter each sign, which also refers back to each one of these signs. So in your considerations after today, you'll be able to easily determine what signs are where.
Thank you. That goes to my question. It was not evident from the backup, so
Yes.
thank you for that.
So this will be very clear for you. Now, again, a separation. These 3 signs are for the residential component, and the other signs remaining are for the commercial component. So there is a big separation between the 2. And this color slide delineates that a little better for you. The residential component wraps all the way around, and then the commercial component is in the center. So these are the 3 variances requested, and I wanted to place them on the site plan. So what I call variance number 1 on the right, which is sign F, is a variance for height, and we'll talk about that in depth. Variance number 2 in the center at the top is sign E. That's a variance for square footage. And then all the way around the other side, variance 3, sign B, is also a square footage request. So those are the 3 variances as they're placed on the site. And those 3 are highlighted for you there. So starting to look at the site and difficulties that we have and hardships that place on the site that make it very difficult is, number 1, these are vast differences. Just from the intersection to the access point of 41 is, I have it as about 900 feet more or less. On Brander Mill, just from the intersection, is 800 feet. This slide shows you the vast distance we're dealing with. You can see very, very far in the distance, you can see the traffic light of the intersection that is the intersection at this shopping center. 41 obviously is a major arterial, 33,000 vehicles per day at 55 miles an hour. And this would be approximately where the site and access is as lined up to the driveway over at Harbor Village Drive. And somehow Google Maps has this variance sign shown, so validity for you in terms of that we're in the right place. Because again, those vast differences. So here's issue and problem number 1 is FDOT and their restrictions allow only 1 access point on 41, and one full access point on 41. There also is an edict of no out parcels shall have their own access on 41. So that leaves us in a position of having only one main access point at the far extremes of the center. So there's no direct external drives. All is internal. Two main access points only, again, only at extreme distances to the center. So let's talk about the next difficulty that we've had to work around, and that is from the county, which is condition 3.6, is that along 41, the large-scale retail, no less than 30% of the frontage for construction for that building to screen the large retail building from 41, which means along 41 is required street screening. And that large retail then is, first of all, is deeply buried into the site, but all the more so because of the required screening. So that large retail is buried, its wall signage is ineffective, loss of visibility, more dependent upon the freestanding signage. And this is from Steve Henry. Steve handled the transportation. He substantiated that element from another element from the county, which reads that Hillsborough County would only allow a right-in for the westernmost access on Brander Mill. So this minor right-in is a further restriction by the county, which again puts more emphasis on that main access or that main point or that main access point on Brander Mill at the extreme point. So individual variances then, sign B is the only access point on 41. That's the only way we get vehicles in and out most safely and responsibly. You're going north, you're going south, 55 miles an hour, 33,000 vehicles per day. That is it. That stops people from missing that point and going all the way through the intersection and all the way around trying to get back into the center. Critically, it has to catch northbound traffic at the only access point. And this sign carries out parcel signage as well, as you'll see, because the out parcels are restricted from any kind of access and have small signage. So we're seeking to supplement that as best we can. So the variance for B is 100 square feet per side is allowed. We're seeking 124 square feet per side. The variance seeks 24 square feet per side. So let's look at the intersection, US 41 and Brandon Mill. It's a pretty open, wide, multi-turning intersection. And let's look at sign E, which is variance number 2. That's at the far extreme on Brander Mill. It's the only full access on Brander Mill at the extreme point. It's the only chance for westbound to come in on a left. They have to find that point. If they don't, they're going all the way around through the intersection, all the way around, and hopefully catching on 41. The eastbound minor is not signed. That right, small right minor in on Brander Mill is not signed. So the large retail also depends upon the sign because at this point they have zero visibility. This is the sign E. And carries a little bit of out parcel signage as well to try and make up with it. So this variance sign E is 87 square feet per face proposed, 50 square feet per face is allowed. Variance requested is 37 square feet per face. Variance number 1, and by the way, when I say variance number 1, I should explain, in Fred's report, and Fred's been a great help because this is a lot to organize, get together. Variance 1 is his first listed, variance 2 is his second listed, variance 3 is his third listed. So variance number 1 is only a variance for 5-foot height, no square footage requested. This is sign F. It's designed to be a little higher up, and it's only for the residential, which wraps around. So the issue here and the concern, as I spoke with Mr. Holton, is this area is completely flat. So it doesn't help to add square footage. The issue is to be sure that we're up a little bit higher so we don't have blockage along Brandon Mill. And this is Brandon Mill. This is where the signage would be further down the road. I just wanted to show you the flat circumstance of the signs and why that would be 5 foot higher. Again, no additional square footage. Now that's absolutely critical because the residential component wraps all the way around. They have a small sign, 25 square feet, which is not under the variance at 41. Their main access and main point is on Brander Mill. So it's absolutely critical at that extreme point and the only point that the residential component has minimal visibility for access at their main point. Signs are all architecturally coordinated with the center. The total freestanding signage per face is 443 square feet. That's for 71 acres, 230,000 square feet of CI uses, and 303 multifamily units. I would suggest that that is a very sparse package. And the total requested variances overall is about, I have it at about 12%. We are very proud to have a letter from the Harbor Isles Community Development District, which I'll put in the record, that they indicate no objection to the sign variance. They are an adjacent landowner directly to the south, and they do stay here. They found the variance requested are justified. And I'll put that in the record for you, although it is here. When you look at the purpose and intent of the sign code, it notes that the purpose of these sign regulations is to provide the minimum control signs necessary to promote health, safety, and general welfare of the citizens. And I think we're doing that in terms of how we planned, or how it was planned, to get vehicles in and out the most expedient and safe way, considering all the issues and hardships and difficulties that I presented to you today. By lessening hazards to pedestrians and vehicular traffic, which I think we absolutely, or I think the developers absolutely have done, and preventing unsightly and detrimental signage. This is certainly not an extreme request on a per-face basis or aggregate basis, by ensuring good and attractive design that will strengthen the county's appearance. So looking over criteria, I think I've made very clear quite a number of hardships and practical difficulties. When all put together, the county restrictions, the state restrictions, the surrounding roadways, the inability to have any exterior direct access points, all access to all the businesses has to be internal, or is required to be internal. Describe how the little requirements of the Land Development Code would deprive you of rights commonly enjoyed by others. The package that we're seeking is not extreme, it's minimal. It allows us to have safe and efficient access points in regard to the businesses and the roadways. The variance will not substantially interfere with the rights of others. Clearly, the only adjacent owners are on record for that. The signage requested is not extreme. It is within the parameters of the purpose and intent of the sign code. That the variance is in harmony with and serve the general intent and purpose of the LDC. Of course, all these signs are permissible. We're asking for variances to signs that we feel will bring us at par for what the sign code's looking for, and for what the purpose and intent of the LDC and comp plan is, which is safe vehicular movements and organized or professionally organized and accepted signage for this particular center. And it does not result from legal acts, certainly. They're not, the signs are not currently up or developed. And the variance will result in substantial justice being done, considering both the public benefits intended to be secured and individual hardships. We do believe that what's proposed is substantial justice, in that it allows the center to have good, clean, safe access for vehicles. So with that, I'll put that in the record. We appreciate your attention and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. The bulk of my questions were answered by your presentation, so thank you for that, the questions that I had in terms of sorting it out. And my final question is, in reading your variance criteria response form, I know you just went through all 6 criteria with your testimony, but the one that I see in my backup and the one I see on the county's optics system identifies it as sign B, seeking 200 square feet aggregate and so forth. So are there 3 different responses, variance criteria response forms, one for each sign, or does this cover all of your requests?
Yes, what's submitted, I have one that's submitted because the variances are similar. And as far as I recall from the filing, it was the 1 page.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that I had it. That was my only question.
And then, of course, a copy of the PowerPoint is by thumb drive in the record.
Yes, thank you for that, and especially the graphic that illustrates where the signs are located. Thank you. I really appreciate it. All right, is there anyone who would like to speak in support? Anyone in favor? Seeing no one, anyone in opposition to this request? No one. Ms. Marshall, anything else?
Nothing further.
Mr. Pressman, last word, if you'd like it. All right, thank you. I appreciate it. Then we'll close variance 24-0190 and go to the next case.
This brings us to section H, variance requests. Item H1, variance 240038. The applicant is Root Project Management Group, LLC, Ruth Londano. The request is a variance to accessory dwelling standards and lot development standards. Staff findings will be provided by Michelle Montalbano.
All right, Development Services, please. Good morning.
Good morning, this is Michelle Montalbano with Development Services. I'm here to present variance case 240038. The applicant is requesting three variances to accommodate two existing structures, an accessory dwelling in the rear yard and a attached covered porch in the west side yard. The property is in the RSC 9 zoning district. The first variance request is for the accessory dwelling in the rear yard. According to LDC section 611-1A, a minimum lot size of 7,000 square feet is required to accommodate an accessory dwelling. The subject site is 6,498 square feet in total lot size. Therefore, the variance is for 502 square feet of lot area. The second variance request is for the accessory dwelling setbacks. Per LDC section 611-2E, accessory dwellings must meet principal building setbacks. Per LDC section 611, the minimum rear yard setback for properties on RSC 9 is 20 feet. The applicant is requesting a variance of 12.2 feet, which results in a 7.8 foot rear yard setback for the accessory dwelling. The last variance is for the attached covered porch occupying the side yard. The minimum side yard setback for property zoned RSC 9 is 5 feet. The applicant is requesting a variance of 2.2 feet for a result of a 2.8 foot side yard setback for the attached covered porch. Moving on to staff findings. The property is under a code enforcement violation for failure to provide building permits for the covered porch and an accessory structure. Also, three variance requests were removed from the initial application, one being a variance request for the setbacks for an accessory structure. According to the applicant, the accessory structure has since been removed, and therefore it was removed from the application. Two variance requests associated with LDC section 611-2C3 were removed, which states accessory structures shall not occupy more than 20% of the required rear yard. However, this requirement does not apply to accessory dwellings. Therefore, the accessory structure square footage is less than 20% of the rear yard, and variances were not required. Any questions?
Not at this time, but thank you so much. Is the applicant here? Good morning.
Good morning. Rui Londono, 1502 West Bush Boulevard, Tampa, Florida, 33612. Good morning. Okay, the property address is 4537 West Paris Street. That is, the property is located on south of West Slide, north of Hillsborough, west of Manhattan Avenue, east of Anderson Road. This is on the community-based planning area for town and country. The property that was a platted subdivision back on 1959 with lot sizes more than 5,000 square foot. The current zoning area is residential single-family conventional 9. The lot area is 6,498. That is more than the request on that on the zoning area. The zoning requests 5,000 square foot, and this is a little more, like 30% more than the requirement per zoning. The first request is to allow accessory dwelling that is a conditional use that is allowed per zoning request. Before, in maybe 10 years ago, on that area, on that zoning residential single family 9, there was no allowed accessory dwellings. The accessory dwelling is to allow, one of the conditions is that the lot size must to meet the 7,000 square foot. We are requesting and reduce the 7,000 square foot requirement for the conditional use to be allowed the accessory dwelling unit. This property have right now 6,000, and we request to reduce 502 square foot. That's the variance number 1 request. The variance number 2 request is to allow to reduce the rear setback. The rear setback on zoning district is 20 foot rear setback area, and we are requesting to reduce from 20 to 7.8. The property, this building or this structure was built together with the house. That was accessory structure that was used like garage. Now we want to convert this one to accessory dwelling to allow the father for the owner to live in that structure. The variance, this is a picture that was sent by the owner on the next property, on the next door that is located on the east side. That is the property owner for the next property. The name is Steve Matz. That was a picture that he provided. That was back on 2013. And on the right, you have a property appraiser aerial photograph that was also on 2013. Sorry. The next variance, number 3, was removed because the accessory dwelling don't request to be to meet the 20% of the rear yard. That was the reason that was removed, the variance number 3. The variance number 4 is an accessory structure porch that is located on the website of the property. This is a covered porch with open walls. The covered porch is 2.2 inside the required setback, side setback that are 5 feet. We are requesting to reduce 2.2 feet to allow they have the covered porch on place. The request for number 5 variance was removed based that was accessory structure storage that was located on the east side for the property. In conversation with the owner for next door, we was agreed that the main concern for the next door owner was that he had no problem that the rear building be used like living area for his father, for the owner father. And in agreement with the owner from the next door, he said that if they removed the accessory structure that was used per like storage, there was no complaint from him. That was the reason that we removed the structure, and also we removed the variance request number 5. The structure for the storage was 12 by 24 foot that was completely removed from the property. That was located, the structure was located in that area that you can see. That was before, you can see the small picture on the center, and you have the current photograph that is already removed. This is all the 3 requests right now. We are requesting 2 variances to allow the accessory dwelling to be converted from garage area to living area. Also, this is important to say that per land development code, accessory dwellings is allowed like conditional use. One of the conditions is that they can have no more than 900 square foot living area. The square foot for this one right now is 500 square foot. That is also less than the requirement for accessory dwelling. But that is a compensation with the size for the lot. That is that we are requesting to reduce the lot area, request the 7,000 to 6,000 area lot size, and the accessory dwelling got to be less than 900 square feet also. The second variant we are requesting for the accessory dwelling is the reduce the rear setback. And the third variant is, like I said before, is for the accessory structure that is the porch open walls that is located on the west side. That's complete my presentation. If you have any question?
Yes, just a couple. One, to ask if those structures, that rear accessory structure and the covered porch, I noted in reading the backup that the property was developed in 1962, I believe you said. Were those structures there, to your knowledge, when the property owner bought this property?
Okay, the property owner bought this property after 2013. The structure, the garage structure was in place. The owner, the current owner, convert this one, remove the garage door, and they have with framing, they close the garage door with framing.
And that's how this code enforcement issue came up?
Yeah, the code enforcement came up like maybe 2 years ago or 1 year ago, and they request that they need to bring to code. And that is the reason we are requesting the two variances to be, because the accessory dwelling is allowed use on the land development code under some conditions. Two of the condition is the reason that we are requesting the variance.
Understood. Was the covered porch there when the property owner bought the property in 2013?
No, that was not there in my knowledge. But the owner is here. That I understand that was not there when the owner bought the property.
And I think you answered this in your presentation. They will have to apply for an after-the-fact building
They
permit.
must to, in order to bring to code everything, and they need to request building permit. We can request in one application, building permit application, we can request an after the fact, convert the garage area, no living area to living area, and request to add an after the fact covered porch.
All right, thank you. And then my final question, in reading the letter in opposition from the neighbor that was submitted into the file, they talk about a room that is being rented inside the primary structure, the single-family home. Do you have any information about that?
I have, give me 1 second, I'm sorry. Yeah, I was looking the opposition for Caroline Ann Kennedy, that he stated that she was talking about what I explained before, the garage that was converted. About your question about the rental, okay. In my knowledge, right now, there is no rental in the property. Back on before, there was a code enforcement. Some of the neighbors called for code enforcement. The code enforcement was on the property, and they verified that the area in the primary house is all connected. There is no second kitchen on the principal dwelling. There is all the rooms are connected inside the principal dwelling.
All right, thank you so much. I appreciate it. If you could please sign in with the clerk's office. All right, we'll call for anyone that would like to speak in support. Anyone in favor that would like to speak? In support? Yes. Yes, please come forward. Well, you have to come to the podium. While he's coming up, is there anyone else that would like to speak in support? Both of you would like to speak?
I'm the owner, but he don't speak English.
Oh, you want to trade? Yeah, absolutely. So give us your name and address, and then he needs to do the same.
Okay.
And then you can
I'm the
translate.
owner from 4537 West Pirates, Tampa, Florida, 33614. Mario D. Garcia.
Thank you. Give us your name.
Okay, so, buenos días. Mi nombre es Alien Sánchez Osuna. Vivo en la propiedad 4539 West Party Street y estoy a favor de eso, ¿no?
Thank you. And then you could translate for him.
Okay. ¿Cuál es tu nombre? Dime otra vez.
Alien Sánchez Osuna.
My name is Alien Sanchez Osuma, and I live in 4539 West Pirates Street, Tampa, Florida, 33614, and I am in favor of the variance.
Is that it? Is that
That's pretty much it, yeah.
All right, thank you. If you could both sign in with the
Thank
clerk's
you.
office. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you for coming down. All right, is there anyone that would like to speak in opposition to this request? I'm sorry?
I'm sorry, I have some letters from the neighborhood that are in favor for the variance.
Absolutely.
I got to
Just give us your
submit
name
to
real quick.
Ruth Londono.
All right, thank you. Yeah, you're welcome to
Thank you.
submit whatever you'd like. All right, is there anyone that would like to speak, in opposition to this request? I believe we had someone online.
We do not have anyone logged in other than Richard.
No one. Okay, just last call. Anyone in the room that would like to speak in opposition? All right, seeing no one. Ms. Marshall, just a quick question about the mention of renting a room that was mentioned in the letter in the file in opposition. What is the county code? How does that addressed?
The land development code doesn't have any specifics to renting a room within a home. There is, if it were to be renting the entire home, it would have to be done at a minimum of a week at a time, would be the minimum.
But nothing concerning an individual room
No.
within the primary structure?
No.
All right, thank you so much. That was my only question for you. Ms. Londano, you have 5 minutes for rebuttal if you'd like it. Okay, thank you so much. Then with that, we'll close variance 24-0038 and go to the next case.
Next item is item H2, variance 240244. The applicant is Ireland O'Neill. The request is a variance to fence requirements. Staff findings will be provided by Chris Granlenard.
Good morning.
Good morning. Chris Granlenard, Planner with Development Services. Here to present application variance 24-0244. The applicant is requesting a height variance for multiple parcels for an existing fence along Palm River Road. The requested variance is to LDC section 6.07.02.c.1.a, which the LDC requirement is fences over 4 feet in height shall not be allowed within required front yards, except under certain circumstances do not apply in this case. The variance is for 2 feet, and the result in the variance would be a 6-foot-high fence on multiple parcels along Palm River Road. This application is in response to code enforcement case, multiple cases. I'm not going to read all the numbers. It's in the record, they're in the case file for your review. That concludes my report, unless you have any questions.
No, none at this time.
Thank
you
you.
so much. I appreciate it. Is the applicant here? Good morning.
Morning. Have a little PowerPoint thing here.
Okay.
For the record, my name is Ireland O'Neill. I'm the property owner. I live at 5217 Palm River Road, Tampa, Florida. In addition to those other parcels, they act as one property. And before we start, I must admit I'm extremely nervous, so I apologize for any mistakes I make.
No, don't worry. They're not even televising this. They're just on the YouTube channel, so don't worry. It's just us.
No, thank you. Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. Before we go through any of this, I just want to start by apologizing in terms of, obviously, we did not mean to do a code enforcement violation. Well, I guess that's not obvious to you guys. You're not in our heads. But to kind of tell you the beginning of the story about the speckless little 20-something landowner, the reason we ended up here is because we misinterpreted the LDC code. We even called the zoning hotline number to confirm what we thought was appropriate. And the problem is we asked the wrong question. We asked the zoning hotline, can you build a 6-foot fence along a collector road, which is what Palm River Road is? They said yes. You probably already know the problem with that question. The question we should have asked is, can you build a 6-foot fence with driveways? The answer is no. But we didn't ask that question. And that's why we got a lovely visit from our local code enforcement officer to inform us. And luckily, they've all been wonderful, and they understand what's going on, and they're waiting for the decision today before moving forward with the case. And anyways, I know we submitted a pretty detailed packet. I'm not sure if all the photos came through with it, but just in case, we did include things here for kind of a visual aid, a casual visual aid about the hardships of the property. Because, I mean, that's on the code enforcement, that's really the main reason we're here. We're here because we honestly do need a 6-foot fence in order to manage the property for various reasons. And I also love to answer any questions you guys may have on that application. But just to kind of do a quick overview, and I'll try not to take much time, but essentially, so first off, let's just start with where we are. We're in the Palm River area. It's pretty known for its mixed use. It's a high traffic area, that Palm River 50th section. We're also pretty known for general, unfortunate high crime, homeless, people who are addicted. And that's not unique to the neighborhood, but what is unique is due to that is you'll see fences everywhere. You'll see variances. You'll see, especially because of the commercial properties and industrial properties, you'll see a lot of fences with those properties. There's not a lot of open land, and that's kind of where we ran into our problem. So you'll see this is us here. One unique thing you're gonna see about our property is we're 5 parcels acting as one property. It means a lot of land to maintain and watch and keep people off of. And unfortunately, we were what is called a nuisance property. We attracted so much crime. I mean, it's amazing how many things can happen within 600 feet of a road and into a property. It's like we have a sign or something that says, come here. And you can actually kind of see why, as we go through these photos, why we were having these problems. It's a very large section of property, and you're gonna see something here. Now, this is not very fancy, but the purple is us, and these are our neighbors. So one thing that's really unique about our property versus the neighborhood is everywhere else you either have, you're hidden, you're far back, and you have residential properties kind of watching your borders. Now we're that purple lot right there, and what's unique about us is we don't really have any direct neighbors. The red are all fences, by the way. They're 6-foot fences. And as you can see, we're kind of surrounded by them. The white is vacant properties that are for sale. So our direct neighbors here, I don't know if I have a mouse. No, I don't, but you're gonna see to the north, our neighbors are the city of Tampa. That little long stretch to the left is a city of Tampa owned lot. It's designated a future park. Next to them is a planned development property. They have mixed use. They have like an emu farm back there, all sorts of stuff. And now to the right of them, this is where we're really getting into some unique stuff. We're by the famous Buddhist Thai temple. I'm sure you guys have heard of it, some of you, and the traffic that brings. It's number 28, 29 on TripAdvisor for top attractions. And people don't want to mess with the Baptist church. That's the white property right there. They love Jesus, so that kind of brings us, that brings them to our little house right there, that little property. And to the south of us is a warehouse. And then to the west of us is a railroad. And that railroad is a huge thoroughfare, unfortunately, for the local homeless. And there's no one who can see through those trees on the railroad. So basically all of our borders, it's not watched. So people who unfortunately want to trespass or loiter or, opportunistic thieves, they can see they can get away with a lot. And then let's see here. So these are just quick pictures. This is that future park owned by the city of Tampa I told you about. You'll see they have a variance for a 6-foot fence, and they use visibility blocking material. It's due to the reasons that, we're here today asking for one. They also have issues, obviously, with, not having one. It's an attractive property without it. That's that railroad I told you about. There's also a spur that goes into that warehouse behind us. As you can see, it's an unwatched border, right? This is that Thai temple. They have a beautiful, unique fence. And as I said earlier, they're number 28 or 29 on TripAdvisor. They're top attractions here. It's a lot of traffic. And they're currently being out by Curtis Hickson Park. This is just fences throughout the neighborhood to kind of give you an idea of what you're looking at when you come through our neighborhood. Like, wherever you go, you're going to see fences. You go back in the residential, you're going to see fences, and that really is what caused a lot of problems, is there's not a lot of places for people to go. There's pedestrian traffic. Palm River is a main thoroughfare for the local homeless, and when they come through, here's actually a good view, but this is the only open area, especially, there's a little bit of a hotbed at 50th and Palm River where they hang out, and they sit at that bus stop. And there's nowhere else for them to go. Everything else is fenced up, right? Everything else has, or they're very close single parcels that, if someone walks on, they're gonna be quickly welcomed by an angry owner. Anyway, so things we did to try to fix these issues over the years is we've done a lot of attempted deterrence. One of the things we did is we actually cleaned up the property heavily, as you'll see here. This is the before view, before we fixed it. This is the after. And what we ended up accidentally doing is making it worse. Because what ended up happening is we improved the sight lines, right? So people before, they're kind of like, there might be an angry hillbilly owner deep in those woods, right? They didn't go too deep in. After, they're like, you know what, first off, they thought we might have something to steal. And they're like, we can get in and get out before they do anything. And not only that, but we also had a problem. Well, before we get into some of the problems, one of the reasons why a 6-foot fence is necessary in solving the problems, I will explain a little bit later, is in our neighborhood, if you don't have it, unfortunately, people, they just take advantage. And you're gonna see an example here with one of our neighboring properties. This is a little restaurant. And you're gonna see here that inside that little porch area, they have a 6-foot barrier. And the reason why is because without it, people just hopped over and they just kind of camp out. Unfortunately, they shoot up and they leave trash. And let's talk about a little bit about why we have such high traffic to this property. The reason why we even went for the 6-foot fence is because we've been working with the local police. We're kind of a problem property. Like, all this crime was happening here, and they suggested we do what our neighbors do. Anyway, so I'm sorry, I'm talking on, but before we bought the property, there was a condemned home on it that was a shoot-up zone, and this is that property. It had been closed for many decades. We removed it, but the reputation didn't leave. And unfortunately, people still, bring drug paraphernalia. They brought they have sex on the property, lots of litter that gets stuck in the lawnmower. People also from the Thai temple, they throw the trash over shorter fences. And this is also some of the problems I was talking about. So one problem we had due to those sight lines is people would, basically think, hey, maybe I can steal something. And they drive, and you can see the tire tracks, and they drive to our outbuildings, and they even test it. They see, can we open this? And that's kind of violating. I'm not a big person, and we also have problems. This is a very fun one. So the CSX Railroad often brings their semi-trucks onto the property. This is one of them. And the problem is that it damages our utility structures. It puts them at risk. And I'm sorry, this is just a local. One thing I want to say is we've tried a lot of things, and we've put up cameras. We put up no trespassing signs. They were all stolen. We even had a shorter fence. It was stolen. And I know that sounds bizarre, and that's why I included this article from our neighborhood. Someone stole a floating dock, And they just have put it out. There was a little nonprofit, but that's kind of the nature of that neighborhood. And this is just some of the 911 callouts to the property. What really concerns me is some of these medical emergencies were not by us. They were by people staying on the property without our knowledge, like local people who would set up tents and stuff. And these are some more. The big thing, though, to take away from this is that, we'd rather not find out that a 6-foot fence works, but we had 911 calls, and now we have no issues since we've had a fence. Like, there's no call-outs. And one of the big things that really made us take this step to try to get a 6-foot fence was, unfortunately, we woke up to the little tan goat bludgeoned to death by our house. And it was just terrible because, they had to walk by where we sleep. And, if someone's willing to do that, it's kind of freaky. And they stole her herd mates. But that's just for the personal reasons. This is a picture of the current structure now. Again, we apologize. We didn't mean to build it inappropriately, but this is just for your records. Is there any questions I can answer?
Yes. So first, you mentioned that you called the county before you put up the fence. Do you have any information as to who you talked to?
No, ma'am. It was a zoning hotline, so it was just one of the counselors that staffed there, and they were completely appropriate. We just asked the wrong question.
Okay, understood. And then it's just a single-family home after you've cleaned up the property. It's a single-family home on site?
There's two, and we operate, live at both of them. Yes, yes, ma'am.
All right. And then my final question, I think is the most obvious question, is that the 6-foot fence is allowed except in that front yard setback. So, Ms. Marshall, can you verify for me, I think this is residentially zoned, I believe, but from the agenda, what that, is it 25 feet, I believe, would be the front yard along Pond River?
It's like a split zoning. So the RSC6 portion would be 25 feet, and RDC 12 would be 20 feet.
20 feet. Okay, so you have two residential zonings that require slightly different front yards. So the most obvious question is it possible to move that 6-foot fence out of the front yard setback, and then it would be permitted?
May I ask a question to clarify?
Of course.
We're already over 25 feet back. Is that the question?
Yes, that is the question, because Ms. Marshall, can you verify that if they were out of the front yard setback, a 6-foot fence would be permitted?
Correct.
Yeah, so we'd need to clarify that you may not have an issue if that's the case. Now, it's measured from your property line, not from the edge of the roadway, if that may be an issue.
Yes, ma'am. I would need to clarify that myself. I know we went extra with setting it back, but you said it's from the property line, correct?
That's right. That's where it's measured from. Otherwise, if it's between the property line and in that setback, it would be a 4-foot height, which is what you're here for. Is there a way we can double check that placement while she's here?
That'd be great.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, we're at a little bit, maybe we should take a 5-minute break and look at that. Would that be appropriate? Would that give you enough time?
Sure.
All right. Then let's just adjourn. It's 10:20 on the clock on the back of the wall. Let's come back at 10:25, and hopefully we can answer that question and resume the hearing. Thank you.
Thank you.
right, welcome back to the February 26, 2024 Land Use Hearing Officer hearing. We resume the hearing. We had, as a part of that break, we had an issue that we do not have a court reporter currently, but we have confirmed with the court reporter service that they can use the clerk's recording and testimony to recreate that record so that they do not have to be participating today either in the room or virtually. So according to that, we are good to proceed. So with that, let me reopen or continue our evaluation of variance 24-0244. And we were checking on the status of whether that fence is within the front yard setback. Let me give us your name just for the record.
Ireland O'Neill.
All right, and what did we find?
We found that we still need to go ahead and request the variance, and I would like to add for the record about some benefits to not having a further setback. One of the main things is that Thai temple, that traffic, it doesn't really solve them parking, right? Before the fence, they just drive up. One of those 911 call-outs is for 56 cars, or about 50-something cars that parked on our property. And part of the reason they do that is because we have a previous reputation for parking due to the past owners allowing it. And then another benefit for not further setting it back and going through with the variance is that, unfortunately, one of the problems is there's not a lot of open areas in this neighborhood because of the problem with people setting up camps. And it's a problem we've had. If you go to some of those 911 calls, people setting tents even, just along that, that area. And I think giving more space would potentially encourage that to happen again.
So just so I understand, so it is within the setback, but your argument is if you were to move it back that 20 or 25 feet, it would provide the opportunity for people to park along the roadway on your property. Is that accurate?
Correct. And one other benefit for this reduced traffic as allowed for with the current position is it was actually damaging utility structures for Hillsborough County. If you go on Google Maps, you'll see a sinkhole it's like a little water utility thing they have. And that was caused because all the cars that were just coming through, and we don't have that problem anymore. And so Hillsborough County Water Utility, in theory, doesn't have that problem anymore.
Okay, all right, thank you. I believe I've already asked you in the conclusion if you had any other comments, Ms. Marshall, is that right? Nothing further to add?
I just want to clarify,
Sure.
The DRPM doesn't require a survey for variance application. It can be a plot plan, which in this case it is a plot plan. And so the fence is shown within that front setback area, and they would, to verify the exact distance, they would need a survey.
All right, but your review of that plot plan, it appears that the fence is in the setback.
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much. And you have the last word if you'd like it, otherwise we'll close the hearing.
Just want to thank you guys for your time and patience.
All right, thank you so much for coming down. I appreciate it. With that, we'll close variance 24-0244 and go to the next case.
Next item is item H3, variance 24-0278. The applicant is John Aldridge. The request is a variance to lot development standards. Staff findings will be provided by Michelle Montalbano.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Oh, sir, the applicant or the staff person goes first. I made that mistake earlier. Good morning.
Good morning. Michelle Montalbano, Development Services. The applicant is requesting a variance to accommodate an existing generator in the required side yard. The subject property is owned in Plan Development 051779. According to LDC Section 61613, mechanical equipment, including generators, may project 3 feet or no more than 50% of the required rear yard, whichever is more restrictive. PD 051779 requires a minimum side yard of 5 feet. Therefore, a minimum 2.5 foot or 30-inch side yard setback is required for mechanical equipment on this property. The generator has a 22-inch setback, resulting in an 8-inch variance request. Just one staff finding, the applicant applied for a building permit for the subject generator. During the inspection, staff documented the generator occupied the required side yard, hence the variance request.
Thank you. And that was my question. I just wanted to verify it is existing, the generator. Okay,
Correct.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Is the applicant here? Good morning.
Good morning. I'm the homeowner, John Aldrich, at 3011 Christopher Watch in Ruskin, Florida, 33570. Just for the record, I hired an electrical contractor to do the generator install. We knew that there might be a variance involved. We actually submitted for the variance prior to the generator being installed. My electrical contractor contacted me and said, we got the permit and all that, so I assumed that everything was done. It wasn't until we went to close out the permit, I discovered that we have this encroachment. So I have a picture showing, it's showing the property. And
Sir, can you bring that microphone over to you?
Yeah.
You can use the yellow, that's no problem, just we need to hear you.
so I'm trying to show you what we're referring to. My neighbor and I, because we only have 5-foot easements on each side, so there's roughly about 10 foot in between the two houses. We have a common shared walkway that we share, and you can see the generator right here. And the generator basically sticks out 8 inches beyond the 50% of my setback, of my side setback. So that's the request I'm asking for.
Okay. All right. I don't think I had any other questions other than was it existing, and it clearly is. So that was it. Thank you so much.
I didn't mean to do it without. I thought, like I said, we wouldn't have done it if I didn't know we didn't have the variance approved already.
Understood. I appreciate it. If you could please sign in with the clerk's office. Thank you so much. Is there anyone here that would like to speak in support? Anyone in favor? Seeing no one, anyone in opposition to this request? No one. Ms. Marshall, anything else?
Nothing further.
All right, sir, you can have the last word if you'd like.
I'm good.
All right, thank you. Then with that, we'll close variance 24-0278 and go to the next case.
Next item is item H5, variance 240287. The applicant is Oscar Lopez. The request is variance to accessory structure requirements. Staff findings will be provided by Isis Brown.
Good morning.
Good morning, Isis Brown. I haven't been sworn in, so.
Oh, okay. If there's anyone in the room that plans to speak and has not been sworn in, if you could stand and raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to provide is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Isis Brown, variance 24-0287. The applicant is requesting a variance to accommodate 2 existing accessory structures on property zoned RSC 6 per LDC section 6.11.04C.3. Accessory structures may occupy a required rear yard provided that such structures do not occupy more than 20% of the required rear yard and are not closer than 3 feet in any rear lot line. The variance is for a 13% increase to result in a 33% rear yard building coverage. Staff findings, the parcel received a citation 8C CMP-22-00000615 for failure to obtain a permit for accessory structures over 150 square feet. And there's also a building permit submitted for that accessory structure. And upon that building permit 23-043315, it was discovered that the accessory structures currently on the property exceed the 20%. I'm available for any questions.
None at this time, but thank you so much. Is the applicant here? Good morning.
Good morning, Oscar Lopez, 111387 Case Bruce Way, San Antonio, Florida. Okay, I agree with everything that the planner had there. Yeah, the homeowner was just looking for the variance only because he built the shed, or roof covered shed just to enjoy the outdoors with his family, have a place where they could gather, barbecue in the backyard as they don't have no deck or anything in the back. So they did go over, so he wanted, see if he could get a variance for that 13%, that's overage, for that way he can maintain with the shed there.
All right. Thank you. I understand the application. If you could please sign in with the clerk's office. Thank you so much. Is there anyone in the room or online that would like to speak in support? Seeing no one, anyone in opposition to this request? No one. Ms. Marshall, anything else?
Nothing further.
All right, sir. Do you have anything to add before we close? No. Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. Then we'll close variance 24-0287 and go to the next case.
This brings us to Section I, Special Uses. Item I-1, Special Use 230586. The applicant is Navigator Academy of Leadership, South Shore. The request is this special use for a school. Staff findings will be provided by Sam Ball after presentation by the applicant.
All right, so the special use is the applicant goes first.
Yes, and Jillian Massey will be presenting for Planning Commission.
Perfect,
after.
thank you for that. Good morning.
Good morning. I thought staff one first, but whatever. Oh, great, thank you. Good morning, Hearing Officer Todd Pressman, 200 2nd Avenue South, number 451 in St. Petersburg. I do have a PowerPoint for you, and I do want to introduce Jeremy Calkins. Jeremy is the Managing Principal for Educational Services Provider. We also have Mr. Michael Yates here for Transportation, and Chris McNeil for Engineering. So I want to be sure we're able to answer any questions you might have. So this is special use for School 23-0586 for Navigator Academy of Leadership South Shore. It's a special use permit for school for a public charter school. We are in the Wamama area, as noted here, South County. This is a little closer on US 41. And we're between, the main road, of course, is US 41. We're between two streets. One is Bishop Road and one is Ruth Morris Road. Just to note, as in the staff report, there is an unapproved right-of-way. Part of it's 35 feet, part of it's 60 feet, but it's listed just as an unapproved right-of-way. So this is a special use for school, maximum for 1,000 students, K through 8. It's a total of 18.48 acres, of which 11.69 are wetlands. I do want to say at this point that we have outstanding county staff and agency support. DSD, Planning Commission are in support and consistent. SWIFMA, no comments. Environmental Service, no objection, conditions. Same for Natural Resources, EPC, and Transportation. We agree with all conditions. And there are a lot of conditions. That's why I want to make sure that our team is here if you have any questions. Under the DSD recommendation, they note it's approvable, that it's compatible with the mixture of residential in the area. The proposed playground is placed behind the school, surrounded by wetlands and stormwater retention areas. That's one of the criteria of a school of this nature, is that the playground is well buffered or is well in a position that doesn't affect residents, and will avoid interference with any residential property, which is a finding by staff. They also make a finding by Bishop Road. Planning Commission, just as a summary of their comments, they find it consistent as it relates to non-residential intensity and the environmental considerations, consistent with the allowable uses under the WVR2 future land use category, meets the intent of neighborhood protection, consistent with the existing surrounding development, meets the intent of Goal 2 and Gate 5 or Goal 5 of the transportation objective for South Shore. Just a few words about Navigator, if I may. Their mission statement is really to work towards independent learners and leaders by developing each child intellectual curiosity and thirst for discovery through a cross-cultural integration of science, math, art, reading, and technology. They are operating 2 schools now, and 2 are proposed. Students are a mix, a wide range mix of students, and their population of students has been increasing. They've received many school achievements, and that is Mr. Calkins, who is one of the leaders of the school, and again, who is here today. So this is of El Rico, just to give you an idea. It is up and running. It's doing very well. These are just a few pictures of it as an established school. Zoning map is AS1. Future land use map is WRV2, which is Wamama Village Residential 2. This is the site plan. This entire area is wetland conservation, and the remaining area at the south, the very south there on Ruth Morris, is the school and playground. So zooming in to that area, it's a 2-story K through 8, 1,000 student maximum, along with the playground as designated here. One critical element is a split arrival and dismissal. So the K through 4 and the 5 through 8 will have a split arrival and dismissal, which will significantly reduce trips and impact. And Mr. McNeil, the engineer, who's much smarter than I might add, has calculated the vehicle storage calculation, which is another criteria that must be met. And obviously that's met because Transportation Department has accepted it. I do want to review with you the outstanding transportation plan that's proposed. It begins with access to the school on Ruth Morris, and they're very experienced with drop-off and pickups. They have numerous traffic officers who monitor and work with each car that comes and goes, so they're able to have multiple lanes of pickup and drop-off, which helps move people through very quickly. They have a double-lane exit that runs through private road on the property up to Bishop, and then at Bishop and the intersection is an important condition that if warrants are required for signalization, the applicant will be responsible. There's a much more involved condition, but that is the condition in its summary. One thing I wanted to highlight in the transportation requirements that basically there's continued monitoring for sufficiency on and off access points and also require corrective measurements. So there is a period of time for aggressive reviews and looking at the site and transportation access points to be sure that they're working. If not, they're required for corrective measures. And there are some very well planned out and proposed transportation roadway improvements. This is just a summary of the 5 of them. It includes improvements on Bishop Road, Ruth Morris Road, US 41, and other access points to be sure that they are sufficient. So with that, we appreciate your consideration. When you look at the criteria, 6.11.88 really has to do with the location arrangement and lighting of play fields, which staff has found that we do meet that, and you can see by the site plan that we do. And then 6.03.13 is an area of vehicle circulation, queuing, and parking, which we do meet. And again, transportation is in support. And Mr. Yates is here if you have any questions in that regard.
No, I don't. I just noted the Sheriff's Department comment that resulted in that signal warrant condition at 301 and Bishop Road seems to respond to that directly.
Yes, and we had a lot of discussion with that, and that appeared to address that concern in her email.
Yeah, that was it for me. Thank you so much. If you could please sign in. All right, Development Services.
Case planner, it looks like the case planner may have stepped out.
All right.
Me-
Ms. Marshall, can you just hit the highlights for us as the presentation, for the presentation?
Sure, just give me 1 sec. So the applicant's requesting is the special use for a public charter school, the maximum enrollment of 1,000 students in grades K through 8. The property covers about 18 and a half acres located on the east side of US Highway 301. With the Bishop Road right-of-way is the north boundary and Ruth Morris Road right-of-way is the south boundary. And within that site, there's approximately 11.69 acres of wetlands. The school would be limited to 65,000 square feet of gross floor area, and that's located on the southern portion of the site. The property's zoning is AS1, which allows for consideration of a private or charter school as a special use. There is just no waivers or variances requested as part of the application. And, let's see. And the applicant did work diligently with EPC as well as transportation staff to work out the subject location. There was a previous special use last year initially, and this came back with more consideration to the wetlands on the site as well as the location of the access points. And let's see, staff is recommending approval with conditions. If you have any additional questions, I believe we also have transportation staff on virtually if you have any questions specifically for transportation.
Thank you. None at this time, but I appreciate it. Planning Commission.
Jillian Massey with Planning Commission staff. The subject site is designated as Waimama Village Residential 2, or WVR2, on the future land use map. It's in the rural area and within the limits of the Waimama Village Community Plan. The proposed special use meets the intent of Objective 16 and associated policies relating to neighborhood development and neighborhood protection. The site is currently vacant. The proposed school will provide a neighborhood serving use to the established single and multifamily residential areas to the west. The proposal is consistent with the existing surrounding development pattern. The proposal also meets the intent of Objective 17 and Policy 17.1 relating to residential support uses, as the proposed school would be a residential support use and the improvements are designed to fit the character of the neighborhood. The site meets the intent of Goal 2 and 8 of the Waimama Village Community Plan. The plan seeks to improve educational opportunities at all levels by providing a new elementary and middle school, which supports the residential development of the area. The plan also will establish safe pathways to school programs so children can walk and bike to school within the community. The special use also meets the intent of Goal 2 and 5 of the transportation objective of the South Shore Area-Wide Systems Plan. The plan will support the provision of adequate space for alternative modes of transportation, such as bikeways and sidewalks, along with appropriate transportation corridors and linking and expanding the network, creating a walkable environment. And based on these considerations, the Planning Commission staff finds the proposed special use consistent with the unincorporated Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan, subject to the conditions proposed by the Development Services Department. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Is there anyone in the room or online that would like to speak in support? Anyone in favor? Seeing no one. Anyone in opposition? All right. Ms. Marshall, anything else?
Nothing further.
All right. Mr. Pressman, you can have the last word.
We did notice 27 persons in 2 HOAs 5 times, so there's been a yellow sign out there for about 6 months. And I checked last night, there's 0 letters or emails, so we're very proud and happy that people recognize that the school's needed and there's no opposition. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Then with that, we'll close special use 23-0586 and go to the next case.
Next item is I2, Special Use 24-0267. The applicant is Christopher J. Kula. The request is a special use for COPX alcoholic beverage permit with separation waivers. I will present the staff findings after presentation by the applicant.
Good morning.
Good morning. Chris Chula, 1506 Acadia Harbor Place, Brandon, Florida, 33511. We're requesting a 4COPX special use exception. There's a daycare diagonally adjacent to our property, and we have residences within the zone of our use.
All right. First, can you tell me if you have talked to the child care center or heard from any of those residents through the notice process?
I've heard from some of the residents in support. They've responded because my phone number was on there, so they've been texting me, getting a lot of support for it. The daycare, we submitted to evidence, a letter from them saying they had no objection to us building our facility. We're going to operate with very respectable business hours from 12 to 10. I'm going to observe all noise ordinance and have special training for our staff. for how they're going to approach alcohol consumption on the property. And we're part of a franchise that does require it.
I see. All right, I didn't have any other questions. Thank you so much. If you could please
Thank
sign
you,
in
ma'am.
with the clerk's office, appreciate it. All right, Development Services.
Colleen Marshall, Development Services. So the applicant stated the request today is for a 4 COPX alcoholic beverage permit with separation waivers for proposed restaurant, the Voodoo Brewery, for a total wet zone area of 5,200 square feet located at 3434 East State Road 60 in Valrico. SUAB 230642 was previously approved for the subject site with separation waivers. However, the wet zone area has shifted south, therefore requiring a new application. The distance separation waivers are requested to community use childcare center within 500 feet and residentially zoned property within 250 feet. A waiver of 370.2 feet is requested to the distance separation to Discovery Point Kings Mill Child Care Center to allow a separation of 129.8 feet. A waiver of 30.9 feet is requested to the distance separation to residentially zoned property, resulting in a 219.1 foot separation. The surrounding area is a mixture of commercial and residential uses, with commercial development primarily along State Road 60. The subject plan development zoning allows for both commercial and residential uses. The proposed restaurant is separated from the community use and residential development by Kings Commercial Court roadway, and the restaurant entrance will face south away from the community use and residentially zoned property. Staff finds the proposed alcoholic beverage permit to be approvable, subject to one condition, that upon approval of the alcoholic beverage permit, SUAB 240267, the portion of the existing 4 COPX alcoholic beverage permit on the parcel SUAB 230642 that is within the footprint of SUAB 240267 shall be rescinded.
That was my question. I just wanted to clarify. So the existing alcoholic beverage approval is also for a 4 COPX?
Yes, this is just shifting south. I don't have the exact distance, but
That's the reason?
Yes.
Okay, understood. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Is there anyone in the room or online that would like to speak in support? Anyone in favor? Seeing no one, anyone in opposition? All right, Ms. Marshall, anything else?
Nothing further.
Sir, anything from you before we close?
No. Thank you to the group for all the help with my application.
Thank you for coming down. I appreciate it. We'll close special use alcoholic beverage 24-0267 and go to the next case.
Next item is item I3, special use 240270. The applicant is Canopy Road Cafe Number 7 LLC. The request is a special use 4 COP RX alcoholic beverage permit with separation waivers. Staff findings will be provided by Camille Crocta after presentation by the applicant.
All right. Good morning.
Morning. Matt Poling, 101 East Kennedy Boulevard. This is a 4 COP RX with waivers. We have residentially zoned property and a daycare within the distance separation criteria. The residentially zoned property is actually just residentially designated land within the larger mixed-use PD that the property is within. And then the daycare is also within the same PD. Both the owner of the daycare and the residential component of the PD have provided letters of support in favor of the application. And like I mentioned, this is a large mixed-use PD. There are
You have something on the overhead to show?
Yeah.
Okay, there it is.
There we go. So there you can see the property highlighted. That strip is commercial, and actually there's some live work, mixed use, residential and commercial.
Sir, can you bring that microphone over to you? Sure. There you go, perfect.
So these buildings are commercial, over here to the west, you've got more commercial. The residential is down further to the south. This is the daycare. And then this is the residentially zoned property. It's vacant right now. And this is a park. These properties face on Bloomingdale. So this is the rear. There's an alley or an alley to be that will separate the restaurant from the residential to the south. Again, this is a 4 COP RX alcoholic beverages in connection with a restaurant. So this is a breakfast and lunch establishment. Happy to answer any questions.
Just for the record, you said you have letters from the Homeowners Association and the Child Care Center in support?
It's from the owner of the residential component of the PD, which is the developer, the overall developer.
Oh, it's still a developer, okay.
Along with the daycare, yes, they're on the
Okay.
record.
All right, that was my only question. Thank you so much. If you could please sign in. Development Services. Morning.
Good morning, Camille Crockett, Development Services, for case 240270. The 4 COP RX alcoholic beverage permit is being requested for a proposed brunch restaurant located at 11220 Sullivan Street in Riverview. The wet zone area will comprise of a footprint of 3,377 square feet of indoor area and 544 square feet of outdoor area, for a total of 3,921 square feet. The applicant is requesting a waiver of the 150-foot distance requirement to residentially zoned property. According to the wet zone survey, the subject property is located approximately 12 feet from the residentially zoned property, and as such, they're requesting a 138-foot waiver. The applicant is also requesting a waiver of the 500-foot distance requirement from community use. The proposed wet zone is located approximately 325 feet from a child care center, and the applicant is requesting a 175-foot waiver. This is in well-established commercial approved PD for mixed use, where there are numerous commercial uses, retail shopping center, and other several wet zoned establishments. As the applicant stated, they have letters of support from both the community use and the developer of the mixed use property, which are in optics for your viewing. Staff finds the proposed 4 COP RX approvable based on the wet zone survey submitted December 27th of 2023, and this concludes my report. Available for questions.
None at this time, but thank you so much.
Sure.
Is there anyone in the room or online that would like to speak in support? All right, seeing no one, anyone in opposition? Ms. Marshall, anything to add?
Nothing further.
All right. Sir, anything else? All right, then with that, we'll close special use AB 24-0270 and go to the last case.
Last item is item I4, special use 240275. The applicant is the Motor Enclave Tampa Land Holdings, LLC. The request is a special use 4 COP alcoholic beverage permit with separation waivers. Staff findings will be provided by Caroline Peddle after presentation by the applicant.
Good morning.
Good morning. Colin Rice with the law firm of Older Lundy, 1000 West Cass, here on behalf of Motor Enclave Tampa. Owner Brad Olshansky is with us this morning. I'll try to be brief, and it's been a long morning already. So we're here to request a 4 COP special use approval. And to orient you, we're situated right between the Tampa Executive Airport and Interstate 75 to the east, with I-4 just slightly to the south. So a little more zoomed in, this just shows you the whole outline of the parcel. We're only proposing wet zoning for a portion of it, but want you to see the configuration in the surrounding area. And the wet zoning survey is here. I want to just make sure, because it is a big parcel, that we understand what we're talking about here. So we're proposing to wet zone area 1, hashed, and area 2, hashed, this little triangle in the center. So both are proposed for wet zoning. These areas are, this is a big PD approval from a few years back. These areas are, approved for special events and guests and member activities. So these are the areas we're focusing on here today. You'll see to the east, the distance separation measurements. The lone issue we're discussing here today is within 500 feet of a property zoning lot with a community use. It's the New Life Tabernacle Church here. It's worth noting that the church structure itself is 908 feet away from our property, but the property line is 409 feet. So it's a 91-foot distance separation waiver requirement per 61111 of the code. So this aerial shows us what is actually within 500 feet. First, the aforementioned Interstate 75, and then as you get into this sliver of zoning lot, we have a retention area, and to the north is a cellular tower. So if you were to draw the 500-foot radius, there's nothing going on over there. And to put some further context on this request, again, we're separated physically by Interstate 75. So I-75 is comprised of 6 travel lanes, 2 protective shoulders, a grass median, and 4 lanes of on and off ramp. Each of these features are separated by a guardrail, fence, or wall. It would be impossible and illegal to walk a straight line from door to door. If you were to drive it, it would be 2.5 miles. So to conclude, we want to thank county staff for their assistance through this application. There's one proposed condition we're absolutely fine with. With that, we'll close. Happy to answer any questions. I will submit a copy of our January 29th memorandum that goes into more detail and this deck of slides for the record.
Just
Thank
one
you.
question
Sure.
to ask if you had heard from the church as a part of the notice or contacting them.
We did send them a letter. We have not heard back. We're not aware of any opposition.
All right, thank you so much. That's
Thank
all
you.
I had.
Okay.
All right, Development Services. Morning.
Good morning. Caroline Peddle, Development Services, Special Use 240275. The applicant, Motor Enclave Tampa LLC, requests a 91-foot distance separation waiver for a 4 COP special use alcohol beverage permit to allow the sale and consumption of beer, wine, and liquor on and off the permitted premises. The proposed event center, positioned in the southeast of the proposed wet zone area, is within 500 feet of the community-used New Life Tabernacle Church, located to the east and separated by I-75. Per LDC Section 61111D4, the distance from the proposed structure to certain community uses shall be 500 feet. Staff finds the request approvable, subject to the condition Area 2 of the wet zone survey shall be restricted to the owner of the storage units, members of the facility, and their guests only. That concludes my presentation. I'm available for any questions.
I don't have any at this time, but thank you so much.
Thank you.
Is there anyone in the room or online that would like to speak in support? Seeing no one, anyone in opposition? All right, no one. Ms. Marshall, anything else?
Nothing further.
All right,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Rice, you have the last word if you'd like it.
Nothing further. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. And then with that, we'll close Special Use AB 24-0275 and adjourn the hearing. Thank you all for your time and testimony.